Hey, yo, it's your boy Clueworld, and I want to welcome you to Levels to this podcast. I'm grateful for you being here. I'm grateful for you taking time to listen to your boy wherever you are in the world. I appreciate you. And with that being said, we're going to have an amazing conversation today with one of my bros, a guy who I really appreciate, who's been an enhancement to my journey and me getting to the level that I'm on. But before I even get to that, let me just tell you a little about Levels to This. Levels to This is a podcast where we gain knowledge, understanding behind how people got to the level that they are, because every level is different. No level is wrong, but every level is different. And this man's level is pretty high up there. I've seen this man grow in so many ways, and it's been an amazing journey for me to watch. It's so many times I see this man doing his thing. I'm inspired by him, and we have a really funny story of us coming together, but we'll get to that. This is Levels to This podcast with Clue, and I want to introduce you to my bro, Mike Phillips. Mike, what's up, bro?
What's going on, man? What's going on? Thank you for having me on.
Hey, man, I'm grateful that you had the time to do this because you're a busy man. So I had to be like, hey, my first episode had to be with the person who helped me grow this idea, a person that always has pushed me, which is you. You've been the guy that I've had very in-depth conversations with, and I wanted to do something like this, but you were the one that was like, yo, you should get doing. And I was like, I guess you got an idea right there. And here we are, bro. Like after bouncing stuff off of you, like equipment, all that type of stuff, but we're not even here for that. We here to figure out the levels to this. We here to understand like exactly who you are, what you do, and the level you're on. So with that being said, tell the people who you are, Mike.
Oh man, I'm just a dude that I'm a man of many passions. I'm a man that I'm a man who gets bored easily. I'm a man who has a very curious mind, and I like to try different things. I like to put myself in a lot of different situations that challenge me. But yeah, I'm Mike Phillips, born and raised in Miami, professionally known as Mikey Phillips. Shout out to Mike Phillips, the sax player. That's the homie. But yeah, started my journey as a recording engineer and a drummer, and then kind of told those lines for many years. Ended up going on tour as a drummer with Janelle Monáe. I was with her for a while, and then went from there to produce a few things and also do some live playback and stuff. So right now I'm still doing live playback with a few different artists. So yeah,
for sure.
It's a little snapshot of what's going on.
A little quick. Yeah. What's funny is the way that I met you was through playback, and our story is pretty funny because I remember we called this amazing man, I call Yoda. We called him and asked him like, yo, we ready to do this playback thing for this artist that I'm working for. And I'm thinking maybe he may come, but he sent you.
Yeah.
And it was an experience. But it wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault, bro. I was under a lot of stress as a musical director.
I know.
And I apologize to you day in and day out. Because one thing that people say about me is like, Clue is so mean when you first meet him. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just very like observant. I watch people, you know what I'm saying? Like,
nah.
And you were so stoic, bro.
You mean and you judgmental. Hell yeah.
Am I judgmental or am I kind of like...
Yeah. At first, you like, who? Nah, you got to prove something to me before I'ma show up and buy. Like, yeah, hell yeah. You might be different now.
Nah. My bro LJ. My bro LJ called me out about that one time before. So yeah, you're right. But also, based upon this, right? It comes from some type of trauma. So if I've been traumatized in some type of way, that's when I kind of like be like, oh no.
But
But
here's what I chalk it up to. Like you hold yourself up to a high standard,
right,
and you like to make sure that anybody around you or associated with you is also reaching a certain level and a standard. So if you don't know anybody, then with that mentality, it's only natural to be like, where you at with it? Let's see if you can hack it. You know what I mean? So in hindsight, I ain't tripping. In the moment, I was like, boy, you don't get your ass out of here. But yeah.
right. Well, look at us now. Like I love you, like straight up.
Of course, straight up.
Because we both were coming into a situation, a scenario that it was kind of like tooth and nail, and it was like, that's one thing about the industry and just us as musicians and how we work with people, like depending on your traumas and also depending on your work ethic and how you build your character out, you look for that in surrounding areas with people. And sometimes I use it as a way to be like, meet me where I am and we can have a conversation there. Because if not, I have a problem with kind of like reading people where they are, and then I just be like, okay, that's where you at, and I can't do nothing after that. But I'm gonna work on that. God is working on me.
Nah, you good. You good. I mean, it's who you are. You know what I mean?
It's who I am. It's who I am. So basically, the story is, when we got in rehearsals, we was not messing with each other. Like, it was just like, he needs to get this right. And I'm a also apologize. Any musical director, any musician who does not deal with playback, I dare you to do it. Because once you do it, you will understand why things are delayed. You will understand why things take certain times. It blows my mind knowing playback now to the smallest degree that I do. And I see artists and people get frustrated. And I'll be like, nigga, you get over there and try to do what you asking.
That's the thing. With that particular show was interesting. That particular show was interesting because there wasn't enough time in the schedule and the budget to get the playback session together. And when it was handed off to me, there were a lot of things like not on the grid. There were a lot of things like that just weren't right with the session before making edits. And then we went straight into rehearsals and was like, all right, we need to make this edit, let's go. And I'm just like, and also, and the other thing is, at that point, I was fairly new to Ableton too.
That was true.
So, and I think that session was built in Digital Performer and then moved over to Pro Tools. And then who had programmed it, they didn't know Pro Tools, so they dumped everything in Ableton, but didn't do it properly. And so when I got to it, it was like, wait, what's over here? What's happening? And then the session was huge. It was like 60 gigs, and the computers weren't operating that session properly. It was just so
remember that another playback person was giving you a session at the same time because you was getting it from Panda.
What I mean.
And that was, I feel so bad because I never understood that technology part of it. All I was a drummer sitting around knowing that we've done a lot of stuff and it's not getting done. So in front of all of these great people, I apologize over and over again.
Oh, I mean, we know what it is. But like, I think for me, it was coming from the system that I came from, like as a musical director, I understood the pressure you were under. You know what I mean? Like, because I had a similar experience coming through, like putting a whole tour together. You know what I mean? That we had to do. We had to build out playback. We had to build out programming and all this stuff. And through that situation, they didn't have budget to bring in outside programmers. I had to do it myself. You know what I mean? So I had to do that, and then I had to do it with the playback guy that was there. And so we was just like, this is me and him putting it together. And so I understood at that time, like I understood the pressure you were under, and I understood in a very brief moment that management relationship, you know what I mean, wasn't a supportive one of what needed to be happen, of what needed to happen to make this stuff right. So I quickly got to see that, like, they don't know what it takes. They think this is easy, and they just gonna bomb on anybody that, basically they feel isn't, and not you, but the powers that be. You know what I mean?
Right, because as a musical director, everything points to you when it comes around to any type of music portion of what's going on. It's my fault. Like, even when we were having problems on the road, I was the one who had to explain things, even if I didn't understand it. But at the same token, like, had I known what I know now, I would have probably been able to explain it a bit more, and also get them to understand, like, yo, like, yeah, you're paying a person to do a job who's doing the job, but without ever doing it yourself, you don't understand what it takes to do this. Just like I may not understand what it takes to write a record, even though that's a lie. There's certain things about what they do that I don't understand, and there's a lot about what I do that they don't understand. You know what I'm saying? But I met you through PlayBack, then to later on, after, I'm gonna be honest, I remember calling your employer and being like, yo, this guy is not it. Like, he seemed like he don't want to be here, this, that, and the third. And your employer, William Burke, who I can't wait to have on here, he literally, that's why I call him Yoda. He got me to understand that just because you don't understand how to utilize this person right now, you don't throw him away. Number one. Number two, do you trust me? Because I've given you somebody that I know can fulfill what you're asking for. Not a discounted person, educated person. Yeah. And to later find out you were the perfect person the whole entire time. But unfortunately, when you're in a certain seat, there's so many different stresses, there's so many different expectations that will make you end up just trying to get rid of things that you can't control or you don't understand. And I'll never do that again, because I learned that lesson. Like,
but y'all whole team, y'all had gone through the mud together, right?
Correct. Yep.
Y'all whole team, y'all had really built this synergy between you all, like, together, with the last playback guy, who's also a brother of mine. And I also did that with my team previously. And so I understand what it's like to build with a group of people. And it's like, this is what we do. We go above and beyond. No, they not paying me for this, but I'm going to do it anyway because it need to get done. Woo-de-woo-de-woo. And then I come in and y'all are expecting me to replace this guy and everything that he brings to this team.
Right.
And I'm coming in and I'm like, first of all, I don't know none of y'all, and I didn't come up with y'all, so I don't have this obligation to go above and beyond like y'all do. Now, if y'all talk and y'all convince me that I need to be this kind of team player, I'm down to do this stuff.
Right.
But if I'm coming straight in and y'all like, nah, this is what we do, I'm like, that's what y'all do. Like,
I don't know y'all like that.
I don't know y'all niggas. Like, I'm coming to work and I'm going home.
Bro, let me tell you the coldest thing about you. The coldest thing about you is like you said, we had this whole like thing built out. We had this family thing. Bro, I remember there was days when we were like, oh yeah, it's cool, we gonna stay on the bus. You're like, I'm getting a hotel. I'm not. This is not that type of party for me. And I was just like, oh, for real? That's how he doing it? He don't even want to be here. And that's what I felt, but it wasn't necessarily that you didn't want to be there. One thing that I learned with you in time was you came to do a job first and foremost, and because you didn't understand the synergy, and it's a thing that it's a process we all have to go into, is buying into what's going on and understanding how things are built a certain way, and that's based upon the entry of everything. And I know for me, if I had been a bit more attentive in my entry to you, you probably would have got it quicker. But the fact that I treated you as a work for hire, a person who was hired on, you worked like that. You worked under those circumstances like, nigga, we ain't friends. We working together. We ain't even on the same bus. Don't talk to me like that.
But also, but also, you know, let me provide also a little context. Like, you know, I do these jobs and these roles not because I have to, right? But because I'm curious about these spaces. Like something about me is that I'm a person that takes chances. I jump in the deep end of things, whether I'm prepared for them or not, because I know that I'm gonna swim. I don't sink, right? So I'll jump into a role that I'm not necessarily qualified for because I'm just curious enough to be like, well, what's over here? Should I do it? And so PlayBack was one of those things for me. I knew engineering. I knew, you know, the live space. I knew all this stuff. So I was just like, I ain't never did this PlayBack thing, but I don't have to learn nothing for real to get, at least that's what I thought. I don't have to learn nothing for real to be able to do this. Like, I could jump in. And so that was one of them things. Like, I jumped into space and ended up in this role. But I have management experience. I have A&R experience. I have vocal production experience. I have artist development experience. Obviously, I have production experience. Like, I have all of this experience in various roles in music. So coming in that particular gig, all of this is in the back of my head, and I can walk around and see stuff because I know all of this stuff because of my background, right? All the experience that I have. And so I'm watching how money is getting spent over here. I'm watching how money is getting taken away over here. I'm watching how money is getting made over here. I'm watching all of these things, right? I'm watching who's walking in at what time. I'm watching. That's just me. Like, I'm one of these guys, right? And
observers.
So you can't. So it's hard to tell me, and I believe you, that there's no budget for this. It's like, oh, you don't want to spend over here, right? And so when we talking about accommodations, right, then I'm like, I don't want to hear it because I'm watching this merch sell out every day. Now, I understand how merch deals work, but I'm watching this food budget that's skimpy over here, right? And I'm watching this person, you know, have access to shower rooms and laundry, and these other people. And so I'm watching all of these little things. And I'm like, you not finna do me like that.
And every camp does it. Every camp does it.
Because I've gone through it, I've experienced it with you, but for me in this role, nah, I don't know you, and you're not making me feel welcome. You gotta pay me. Right. You're not even trying to build a rapport with me. Not you, but the camp as a whole, right?
Right.
Ain't no welcome, ain't no talking. It's like, yeah, we might pray before a show, but everything outside of that is like you on your own. Right? You know what I mean?
Because you had cliques, you had family, Not even cliques. It was just.
But it's that. It's like the management team walking by you and won't speak will walk the other way to not speak. You know what I mean? Like, any issues or any grievances that are happening, like,
they're not talking directly to you. They're talking to somebody who needs to talk to you.
You know what I mean? And so I'm just like, and you want me to take this L for what? I'm a grown ass man. Like, you want me to sleep where and not have privacy for how long? You know what I mean?
Bro, I do know.
So that's a little background on like why that was my initial position and why ultimately, William supported me. He was like, well, what you want to do? I was like, well, this is what I'm doing. So
yeah,
he's
and
like, all right, I'll support it.
And that's why he's such a great leader, because great leaders understand that they can either come down on their person, or they can help build their person up and bring comfort to their person and analyze the situation and figure out how things can marry itself together. And also, I don't know, God probably spoke to Will and was like, it's gonna get better. Like they having a moment right now, but trust me, it's gonna work out. And that's exactly what it did.
People, he knows like these situations. He's been around for a long, so yeah, we get it. And even me, like I wasn't so married to the idea of like being upset at that camp. I still spoke to the management every day. You know what I mean? I still whatever, even in all of this stuff, because I know that people change, things change. But at the end of the day, it's just like, man, it's business, man. Like we can want to help all we want. We can be friendly and all this stuff. But my time in the business understands that somebody's making money. Somebody has ownership, and like these buses getting paid for, these bus drivers are getting paid for, whoever's providing this food, they getting their money. These venues are getting their money. So people are eating, but somehow I'm on the side that I can't get my money. No.
That's a whole nother conversation, bro, because a lot of people, like I said, I feel like another thing that cultivated this podcast was how people seem to see things through a window shopping perspective. They see all of the stuff that we're able to do, the things that we're able to post, this, that, and the third, but they don't understand what we have to go through to make the product and sustain the product that they're looking at through that window. They didn't know if we had to get this piece from here, if we had to bite the bullet over here, if we had to literally lay down and die for a second and be resurrected. Like they don't know how that stuff happens. And it's not to say that we're money driven, but we work in an industry where our work is usually given before we're paid. And it's not saying that every industry is like that, because if you're working a 9 to 5, you work for 2 weeks and then you get paid, bi-weekly. But what's crazy for us as artists is there's times, I don't know if y'all know, you'll do some work and you won't get paid for months. Oh, man. I don't think McDonald's is doing that where you at McDonald's, or you working at, this hospital, and nothing. No shade to those. That's great. 9 to 5s. I have all respect for anybody who works 9 to 5, but I really want people to understand a lot of the finished product that you enjoy and see is unpaid for. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, I mean, there are very few industries that work with that kind of business model. I don't enjoy it because it leaves so much room for people to be taken advantage of, right? If your business ain't tight, you're gonna get got. Period.
Yep. Every time. Every time.
And I don't like that that's even a standard of this industry. You know what I mean? But it's so hard to, because I always say this is the Wild West. Like everybody do what they want to do, and because everything is contract based, you can literally write whatever you want to write in the contract if you're the one holding the bag, right?
Yep.
If you're the one dangling the money, you can do whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? So it sucks.
It does, man. But we'll get back. We'll get on those subjects again, because I know we're going to get back around to them. But for those who don't understand PlayBack, what can you break down like what PlayBack is and the factor of what PlayBack plays in the entertainment industry at this point in time?
PlayBack. Oh, I've never had to explain it. I feel like somebody can probably explain it better. But
this is your version. This is your level of understanding.
PlayBack, at this point, PlayBack is the show, right? PlayBack is the heart and the cockpit of the show, right? from playback, obviously you have the music and the audio of the show, but lighting, video, pyro, even the artists, they're all locked into this playback, right? So playback is basically the music that can be played out of this software, whatever software you have, Pro Tools, Ableton, Digital Performer. And through that, there are syncing files that can sync to the lighting board, syncing files that can sync to the video content, click files that can keep the singer and dancers in time with the music. And if that computer stops and goes down, then everything stops and goes down, right? So, so playback is literally the show, and it takes a really good operator and a really thoughtful operator to be a good playback engineer. Now, there are operators out there that are not engineers, right? There are people that can put a Ableton session together and they can do it and make it all beautiful. But if you ask them to do some engineering, some EQ and some compression or some effects, and ask them to do all of this real engineering work, a lot of them are gonna go down in flames. That's why a lot of operators enjoy Ableton and not Pro Tools and Digital Performer. Right. But engineers are able to do multiple things because engineering is transferable. So it is so playback is one of those things that like every show has at this point. They all look slightly different. Every show looks slightly different, but they have all the same elements. Now, in playback, there's a way to have stems, and what stems are like individual tracks. Like you have, your bass, your drums, your keys, your vocals, and all that kind of stuff. And basically, you can send those out, different outputs out of your audio interface to hit both monitor and front of house console on separate faders so that they can blend properly whatever they need to do. Like if they need to bring up vocals on this part, then they can do that. If they need to affect the drums separately, they can do that. And so that is the most common way that playback is used in terms of a music space, is being able to send out stemmed music lines to the front of house, and that way the front of house can blend them properly, and the audience has a very unique audio experience as opposed to them only having the 2-track of the song, that we hear on the radio or whatever on Spotify. So and
because that 2-track is coming through so many kind of like portals that we don't understand, it strips a lot that makes you have to do that. So playback gives the front of house guy full control. If a band is not there, he literally can mix as if a band is there, depending on the amount of stems that he has and how he has everything set up. Do you feel like, as a playback guy, well, more than a playback guy, but in your posture of playback, do you feel like playback is the new DJ?
I don't think it can replace a DJ.
Okay.
I think it can supplement a DJ if used properly. I think there are people who would like it to replace a DJ. But if used properly, it would be supplemental for a DJ. I'll say that.
Got it. Because for me, I mean, we both have noticed the decline of DJs, the decline of Well, it's decline. It's a decline of DJ. So now playback to me is a 50-50 world of musicians who know how to do playback or partially do playback, and actually playback techs. People who actually who are, because another thing that you guys understand, you may never see Mike, but you will hear Mike because of his position in the game. Even for those who don't understand, like, I mean, people come to shows, they don't understand where the music starts. They don't know who cues it. They don't even know if the artist is starting a song. They don't know how. It's amazing because I'm a show watcher. I'm a huge YouTuber. I remember when I was getting ready to go to college, I was watching like Usher live. And I remember there was one moment where the lights linked up with his hand and certain elements happened. And I was just like, this band is smacking, and how are they getting all of this right? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of it is technology and computerized, and also understanding how much weight is on those that are not seen, because the band can pick up, a good band can pick up what may go haphazardly wrong with you guys, but you guys have so many like backup plans, and those backup plans have backup plans. But if you're not technologically savvy, you're dying a slow death.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because, you know, that's what makes this thing so tough. It's like there are guys who, it's one of those things. Like, I'm grateful to have the experiences that I've had, right? Because it makes me good in this role, right? As a musician, I'm able to hear certain things that are happening in the band, and I can let that inform me how to properly edit what needs to happen in the session on the fly, right? Like I remember I was doing, well, this wasn't a band situation, but I was doing this thing with Ray Shrimmer, right? With Sway Lee and Jimmy. And so we're doing, I think it's like Rolling Loud, one of those, right? So we're doing the show, and the finale song is both, right? Sway and Jimmy. For whatever reason, like, Jimmy is nowhere to be found. So we start the song, and they going, and Sway going, he up there, and the DJ runs off stage, and he run to me, he's like, yo, which version is this? I'm like, he was like, is Jimmy on this version? I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh no, man. Oh, fuck, man, no. Oh, man. And I'm like, what's up? He was like, man, Jimmy gone, man. And I'm like, gone where? He's like, he gone, man. He gone. He was like, okay. He was like, all right, so maybe we can fade out before the outro. And I'm like, nah, man, that outro too big. Like, that's it. And it was like, we gotta tell, if we do it, we gotta tell Sway in his ear. And so we just bouncing ideas back and forth. And I was like, you know what? I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it. Don't worry about it. And he's like, what you gonna do? I was like, don't worry about it. I got it. And so we going, and we going right to the part where Jimmy's verse is about to come in. Right. And so Sway on stage, and he's looking around, and he's looking for Jimmy, and he like put his head down. He's like, man. And so I'm counting. It's like one bar before we go in. And so I'm a drummer, so I know how to count these bars and beats. Right. And so I put the cursor right. It's in Ableton, so I put the cursor right on the top, on the downbeat of where the outro starts. And so I know in Ableton I can put the cursor, I can stop the session, and then I could go, and it's gonna start from the cursor. So I put the cursor, it's still going, and I'm counting. And so at that part, there's like a drum roll that's leading up into the 4, and there's a break at the 4 before the downbeat.
Okay.
And so I'm counting, and the snare rolls happening, 2, 3. I stop on 4, and then I start right at the outro, right?
Woo.
And so it goes. So Sway like got his head down. He turned around, he walked, and then he's like, "Oh!" And then he jumped back out to go do his outro thing. The DJ over here like, "Oh, he done saved the show." He running around all backstage. And every, it's like fans and management back there, and everybody like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "This nigga a genius. He done saved the show." And so like musical things, there's so much that informs this role, right? Like being a musician, being an engineer, being a vocal producer, like you end up taking these cues and knowing how to be successful in these different areas. It allows you to be able to like be a capable member of the team, not just putting a session together and hitting play, because that ain't the job. The job is when it is when the show is on the line. What can we do?
What can we do? How do you,
because
I think a lot of people, even though they don't see playback is just as much of a band member as the band members on stage. You just don't see them, because say I'm playing drums and my foot pedal goes out and I gotta say in the talkback mic, hey Mike, put the kicks back in the, because I just went through my kick drum head, like or like, yo, my snare head just busted, like put the claps in, because we as drummers, as keyboard players, there's a lot of things that we take out in order to be able to play and fill in those gaps, because beyond that it's just playback. But you save our asses in so many ways. Not even just our asses, you save a lot of these motherfucking singers. Yes, that was a little harsh, real. But you save a lot of these singers, because not every showgoer knows that their artist may be sick, may be running out of breath and all that type of stuff. And it's not to give away any tricks, it's just like, we're human, we get sick, we get tired, our bodies get weary just the same way somebody else's does. And there's time, and not only that, auto-tune has become really huge in playback. Like every rig almost has auto-tune, and you got so many singers who depend on that heavily. That joint go out, it's almost like you stole their voice.
That's a wrap.
And you be like, bro, this is tech. And I tell these singers all the time, these artists, like, please understand, when you get in the bed with anything of this nature, it's technology, it's not the person.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the I would say it's about 10 to 15% of the person, because you get what you pay for. So if you pay top dollar for somebody, understand any mistake that's really made, more than likely it's technology. Now, if you just getting your little cousin, or one of the homies that's been only doing it for about a week, and you only paying a certain amount, like, you going, please understand and be ready to go down in flames. But there's also people who really do enjoy it, but can set themselves up for failure. But that's some great information. And I guess I want to know, like, how do you feel like your music engineering, I believe you touched on it a little bit though, you engineering and being a drummer MD in your past has helped out in your in your journey of being a playback engineer now?
Yeah, it's that. I mean, if as I said, if playback is, the central hub of the show, right? Then I need to literally, be an octopus and have arms to every department. I need to know a little bit about lighting and how that is affecting it. I need to know a little bit about video. I need to know a little bit about how the artist interacts with playback, what they need to hear, what they like to hear. When should I add a count or a click in this section? You know what I mean? And I need to know all this stuff. And as a musical director, that's what you literally are doing, right? And so if you don't have that experience, you don't know that you're going to need to do that, right? You don't know that you're going to have to interact with all these people. You're going to be waiting for instructions from somebody that may never come. You
Correct.
know what I mean? Because I know I know a handful of playback guys that like will literally sit there and be like, well, nobody told me anything, and what do I need to do, and what needs to, and it's like,
why are you here?
you might not, and a lot of people, there are a lot of systems that run that way, where
Right.
there's
you just press it and it's gone.
Or there's somebody, a creative director, that's just like, don't do nothing unless I tell you to do it. I don't care. And I'm like, and that's cool. But there are also these other situations where you literally have to figure it out on the fly.
Right.
So, it's beneficial. And then, we from the church. So there's so much that we had to figure out, the nature of playing in church is figuring out on the fly. Right?
Exactly.
Like the nature of like flowing or revamping or going back into a song, or they missed the cue, or they started on the wrong beat and now we gotta adjust. Like this we came up in this, so we know how to do this. But every person in music doesn't have that experience, and so they don't really know, like, innately how to really adjust in real time like that. So all of those experiences, I feel like have informed me and played into it.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, you hitting on church is so funny to me because like it's based upon like my professor, Sylvester Henderson, is how I learned how to lead, how I learned how to set expectations and try to bring people to them so that they can understand it, but at the same token understand where people are and how to still make them great in where they are. Everybody ain't gonna be LeBron James. You may have a Tristan Thompson who's not that great, no offense, who's not that great, but still good enough to be on a championship team and still help win a championship. I hate talking about that because that's when they beat the Warriors. I'm a Warriors fan, but it's all good. Hilarious. But still, it wasn't just LeBron. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just the help of Kyrie and Kevin. He had to bring people along. He had to bring the J.R. Smith along. He had to bring those guys that weren't necessarily the players, but they were the team. And just like understanding like great leadership. And one thing that I feel also helps in leadership is learning when and how to be a good follower.
Of course.
And not always having to be in the leadership role or always having to be like everything goes like this. Like, nah, we all have our own tricks of the trades and the way that we would like things to go, but it doesn't mean it has to be that way.
Yeah.
Which helps us with navigating and problem solving in this space, because your problem solving is way different from mine. Like,
right.
There's certain moments when I remember getting into a slight disgusting argument with an artist of mine who wanted a playback tech to do something that I know he was incapable of. And the artist literally threatened my job for protecting that person. As a leader, I protected that person and was threatened that for my job to be lost. And I was just like, I mean, there's some people who were there who know it, and they was ready to be like, "Hey, what is we doing?" And I was like, "It's okay. We not gonna give him the smoke today." Why? Because at the end of the day, we don't do what we do for the benefit of necessarily our own being. Like, it's still a sacrificial thing of trying to make sure that other people are winning. And have you ever been in a situation like that, a circumstance where you kind of like took an L for somebody who should have been, doing something or should have been able to control something or fix something, and people didn't understand it?
All the time. I've been in that role before I was an MD in Janelle's camp. You know, it's tough because like the old days of building stuff, like a lot of musicians and artists don't really have that same type of experience because everything is so there are standards in place that weren't necessarily in place back then. But when we were building that camp, a lot of people didn't know what to expect from a leader. Like I didn't know what to expect from my MD because I had never had good MDs before then. You know what I mean? I had decent ones, but they were also trash. So I didn't know what to expect for real from a really good MD, right?
Right.
And so when I'm in this role, I'm like, this nigga trash too, man. Like, you could be blah, blah, blah. But then at the same time, I'm hearing other people going in on them, and I'm having to be like, okay, Mike, ask these people to be patient. Like, just give him some grace because we don't know what he's dealing with. We don't know what's happening on the other side. Like, yes, this is really uncomfortable for me, but I don't know what's causing him to make these decisions. Now I can speculate and I can, have my opinions and be like, yeah, this nigga trash because of this, and this. But I don't fully know what's causing him to make these quote unquote poor decisions that are affecting me negatively.
Right.
So it's in my best interest and in everyone's best interest to take a beat, take a breath, and say, hey, this is uncomfortable. I don't know what you got going on. I just, want to let you know, and let's provide some patience and some grace. And on the other hand, I'm telling these people, chill out. He under a lot of pressure. Let's give him some time, do what he got to do. Woo. Because, I used to be somewhat of a hothead, not too bad of a hothead, but like, it was never beneficial to, add fuel to the fire in the moment. It's like, if we under pressure right now, what's me adding pressure to it gonna do? Like, what's me being like, what you doing? What's going on? Blah, blah. It's like, it ain't gonna help nobody. So I've learned to take a role of being like, okay, guys, like, take a step back, take a breath, calm down. This is work, right? I try to remind everybody that this is work, right? We're not friends. We're friendly, but we're not friends. These are your coworkers. Yeah. Give them a chance to do the job that they're getting paid to do. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, like, a lot of times people will take that and then they'll just be like, okay, you're right, let's go. And other times cats will be like, nigga, I don't care.
Nigga don't care.
Yeah. A lot of people, but that's touching on something else. Like, ain't no HR in this music game. You know what I mean? Ain't no bro. Ain't nobody handpicking personalities for these teams. So
no, absolutely not.
So half these teams got very incompatible personalities trying to work together. You know what I mean? So it's really just, can you do this job? Are you an idiot? Okay, cool, let's go.
Are you an idiot?
You know what I mean? But you end up in these situations with a lot of people that literally don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to interact with other people socially.
That's a big word. That's a big word. Communicate is a big word, yo.
Yeah, they dealing with all kind of internal demons, but they are really skillful in this role.
Right.
And so you just end up being like, God dang, like, why this nigga gotta be so good? I can't even get rid of him. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
It's an interesting little game, and it's allowed me to explore levels of patience that I didn't know, I had. So.
I mean, because even back to our story, like, after having that conversation with Unc, I can't remember I can't remember exactly what happened, but something made us have to figure each other out. Do you remember what it was? I don't remember exactly.
I feel like it was after the domestic run and maybe prepping for the Europe run.
Yeah, we kind of was like, I think I like him.
I
you remember it?
Was. Yeah.
Okay, tell me.
Moshe for that European run.
Oh, damn! You're right.
They got rid of Moshe, and it was like it was a wake up call for everybody, and then we all need and they put out that ad that Facebook ad for a monitor guy. And we all needed to kind of come together to kind of get through
what was going that shift.
That they were putting us into.
Yep.
Like we had clearly saw, like in front of our faces, what we were up against.
Oh yeah, it was about to go down. It was going.
You know what I mean? And we were prepping for it. And I remember we all was just like, all right, so what we need? What's going? Wait, so what's this? And then I had to kind of humble myself a little bit and be like, because y'all had information that I wasn't privy to in terms of like venue and like lodging that I didn't have yet. And so I remember I had to be like, hey, so what's going on over here? Like, what's happening? Like, what's blah blah? And I had to be like, okay, well, what y'all need? How can I help? How can I jump in? Because this is crazy over here. You know,
it was crazy too. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, but and I feel like in that dynamic in Europe is when our relationship just like soared. There was many like I feel like we had more conversations about the next step, the next movement, anticipation, and also comfort and discomfort. Like understanding, like sometimes as musicians and musicians and those that work with artists, so forth and so on, you hear many conversations, don't get too close to the artist, you know, this, that, and the third, y'all can't really, don't be all up in their face and all that type of stuff, which causes it also sets a precedence where you kind of almost become, you affect yourself in a place where you can possibly be replaceable because of that wall that you put up. Because I've been always big with the guys that I work with, what guys that I bring on and stuff is undeniability. That if you end up leaving a situation, they'll never find what you brought positively. Because trust me, there's some negative stuff that they'll never get because you're just like that. But I mean undeniability in a positive way. Give them something that the only way they can get it is through you. It's unique. It's based upon not just what you were getting paid, but the integrity of your character and the level of your work ethic and your attention to detail, and the fact that no matter what, even if you don't care, you don't show it.
Yeah. Yes. In addition to that, be about your business before the friendship.
Yep, that's what you got on me about, big time.
Before the friendship between you and the artist. That friendship will be there. But what won't work is the business relationship. So a lot of times what happens, and you know this, like as someone who ends up building things, right? Like you can afford what you can afford, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so if you say, hey man, I need you to come and video me on this tour. I can only afford $15 a day. Right? If this person comes and they believe in you and they want to be a part, they are like, you know what? I ain't tripping on the money. I believe in you. I'm gonna come and do this for $15. Of course I want more money, but that's all you can pay. I got you. I'm showing you that I'm in your corner. Woo-de-woo, right?
Right.
So we do a whole tour, $15 a day. I pay it. He give me great footage, great person to be around, all this kind of stuff. The next tour come up, he like, hey man, I need $500 a day. Like, this is what we gotta do.
Yeah.
Now, as an employer, there's nothing that guy can do to make me value him at $500 a day.
Mm-hmm.
I love him. He's a great person to be around. But the business side, you already showed me what you're willing to do
to be on
at this price.
Yep.
Right? And for me and my company, it's too big of a jump, not financially, even if I can afford it.
Right.
It's the way I see you. I already have an experience with you on this lower level, right? And so that being said, that's why I always tell musicians, it's cool, take the money you can get, at first, but very quickly jump ship, right? Very quickly, because if you stay there too long, there's no way to make huge financial jumps.
Yeah, the growth,
business wise,
absolutely.
Whether it makes sense or not, it just doesn't work.
Right.
Let me say a couple things on that. There are all these articles coming out in the tech industry about the people that stay with one tech company for 5 or for several years make considerably less money over that time span than people who worked here for a year, jumped, increased their asking price, worked here for 2 years, jumped, increased their ask, and they made way more money jumping around and increasing their asking price from different companies because their entry point to that company was what it was.
Where they were coming from. Yep.
This particular entry point is way over here, so you only gonna get a percentage increase based on that. Right. Over here, you could be like, nah, my rate is this. So, and then if they increase, it's a percentage up from that. Oh, now my rate is this now. You know what I mean? And and the second thing I want to say to that is that's also what happens with these endorsements with these companies.
Yep.
How you enter this endorsement game is how you stay.
Woo. Say it again.
I don't care if you became on top of the world. They don't care.
They don't care.
How you entered that deal is how you stay. They ain't trying to give you no equity. They ain't trying to. Relationships are cool. I ain't played a show in a few years, and I still got great relationships with my companies, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And with the people there, right? But it's unfortunate that the deals are what they are. I'm gonna say this. Whatever.
Say it.
Sorry,
y'all. This is what it's for.
I don't like these endorsement deals, right? I don't like it. The business side of it is not favorable to the artists, to the performers that are in these deals.
Correct.
Right? Like, they're essentially signing you to an exclusive marketing deal for their company, right? You're a brand ambassador for their company for a select amount of products that they are already writing off at the end of the year.
Already writing off.
Their business, they have an expense or a marketing budget or a line item that says we can give away this amount of product and write it off on our taxes.
Yep.
So they're not necessarily investing in you.
They're giving away what they've already put aside.
They already put it aside.
It looks special to those who don't understand and get that information.
Yeah, and it's cool. We like, oh man, you know, I'm with this company, man. They blah 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 blah. Nigga, ask them to put some money up.
Ask them to put some money up. See what happens.
Ask if you got all this value and you got all this clout. Ask them for equity on this on your custom product.
They're gonna look at you so crazy. They're not even. It's not.
And that, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, this whole business is about the contract. Every part of this game is about the contract. And so when you start to look at all this stuff and start to comb through these things, it's like, that don't actually make sense. And I always tell people, if you're working, buy your gear.
Buy it.
If you're working. Absolutely. And for the most of us that tour, we're renting gear anyway.
Yep.
For the most of us that are doing one-offs, and we do a TV show in New York, that gear is getting rented. We paying for that, right?
Yep.
If we doing a little one-off in New Orleans or whatever, that gear is getting rented.
Yep.
So what's the point then? If we got to pay for it anyway. Now I'll say that I do have experiences because we required a piano white drum set kind of everywhere we went.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tama did a great job. Shout out to Aaron Vischer. He did a great job sourcing and providing rental gear in these piano white drum sets all over the world when we were doing these TV shows.
Wow.
Now, that was a great thing to have. At the same time, I could have told her ass, we ain't got it.
You ain't got it, baby.
You don't get this drum set, and we might be able to cover it on the day of.
Right.
You know what I mean? Do a little makeshift rap or something.
But that's it.
We could source that, but we ain't got it. Now, that was a great thing. That was a great relationship to have at the time for that specific purpose.
Right.
But overall, what was the investment? You know what I mean? And so I'm just saying, if we're talking about entrepreneurship and we're talking about brand building and we're talking about equity moving forward, we're talking about, you know, motherfuckers leaving legacies for their own children and for others, you know, to be able to take notice of, it's like, we got to have a very different conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And,
so, all right. So I just wanted to touch
no,
on
it's
those
good.
things.
It's good. I mean, it's a self-accountability conversation of really understanding that my dad always brings it up that the music business is 90% business and it's 10% whatever you do, the gifting and playing. And the fact that, you know, nothing against the shedders, nothing against those who practice all day and all that type of stuff. But I tell young guys all the time, man, like, just as much energy you put into practicing your craft, you got to practice the business. And sometimes business is not necessarily given to you by just somebody just handing it out. Sometimes it's done by observation, which we do a lot, and also asking questions and saying, man, like this is not making no sense, and being honest in not knowing certain things, because I feel like sometimes we deal with people who feel like they know everything. I ain't gonna lie, sometimes I've been that person, but I've taken a back seat to that. My philosophy is, which is probably still wrong, I do think I know it all, not because I know it all, but because I know people who know it all. I know other know-it-alls. I know people that at the end of the day, if I don't know something, I can call them and still gain the access to the answers that I need to know what it is I don't know at that time. But it doesn't mean I don't know it. It just means I don't have the information right now. But I feel like in our industry, there's a lack of the askers and there's a lack of those who willingly want to answer. Yeah,
well, it's that though. It's what I touched on earlier. about personality traits, and then people not being great communicators, right?
Yep.
A lot of the people that win in terms of musicianship are people that put more time into that particular instrument.
Yep.
That don't mean they know how to talk to you, and that don't mean that they're comfortable talking to you,
Right.
And that don't mean that they have any experience outside of that experience that they are known for, right? And so you'll find that a lot of these people don't think that they know enough to be able to share, right? A lot of these people don't value their experience enough to say, I can give you this game. They like, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure it out myself. I don't know.
I'll give you what I got.
Right.
Indeed.
And we also don't have a culture of higher education in this game, we don't have a culture of coaching.
Absolutely
in this game. We don't have a culture of paying our like elders or our seniors for their knowledge, right?
That was a heavy one right there.
Like how many, like we might be like, if we have a relationship, man, let me take you to lunch, man, pick your brain. Nah, pay that man $100 an hour
for his journey. For his gems.
To have him talk you through some stuff that you're experiencing.
Yeah,
right? Every other industry we have, there's some kind of higher education. There's some books, there's some programs, and there's a coaching something in place, whether there's like a CEO coach or a something coach over here, where you can go and pay this man and you lay out, here are my challenges, and they're like, here's how we can blah 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 walk you through this process. We don't do that over here.
Absolutely.
Ain't nobody hitting up, Valdez or Kern being like, hey man, let me pay you. Ain't nobody hitting up Gerald, you know what I mean, saying, hey man, let me pay you on how to navigate. I mean, Brian Fraser Moore's got his consulting game. Pay Brian.
Right. But he has he's basically saying, like, if you want this information, you're gonna pay for it.
And we need to make that a popular part of this culture.
And accept it and not be offended by it, because I feel like maybe there's an unfortunate offense, number one, and number two, those who really want it don't feel like it's worth paying for it, and that's our fault. That's our fault of having the money and seeing the Brian Fraser Moore promo, like, hey, you can get this information from Brian Fraser Moore, and you're like, I'm not about to go pay for that. Like, why would I pay for that? And Brian.
We should. Brian, and on a couple occasions, and I will continue to do so, because, like, you are not going to have the experiences he has, right?
Exactly.
From this point, you aren't going to build an entire thing that, of something that was built by somebody like a Brian for as many years as he's been building. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, it's like we got people out there, if we talking about gospel, man, hit up Mano Hines, hit up, Asaph, hit up my brother Trent Phillips, like hit up Teddy Kemp, hit up all these people, you know what I mean? Aaron is a wealth of knowledge. Chris Coleman is a wealth of knowledge. Like, I'm saying all these drummers because that's my area.
Right.
Like freaking
Omar
Edwards, you know what I mean? Like
Adam.
What's my Brent Easton? You know what I mean?
Easton,
we talking like what's my guy to play with with Mary J?
Rex.
Rex is a wealth of knowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And Rex has MD experience, he has programming experience, producing experience, you know what I mean? And there's so many people that we can get game from. and put our unique package together, right? Put our unique offerings together. But I say all this to say that because we're not doing this is why they're able to take advantage of us financially.
Correct.
Because we don't know what these things are worth. We don't know how to properly bring these services and products to the table and charge properly for them.
Put the right price tag on it. Yep, absolutely. So we leave so much money on the table. That's one of the conversations we have all the time, is all the money that's left on the table as musicians. Especially those who carry the package and ability of being a package themselves. You're being a musical director. You're being a drummer. You're being a programmer. You're being, referring people to to them and all that type of stuff. Like, that's 4 checks if you really think about it. If they had to do it themselves, like if they had to pay one drummer, a playback tech, a programmer, and somebody to bring in other bandmates, do you know how much money that is? But many of us, sometimes I feel like one thing, mostly the young, they'll take what they can get. They don't know. And also I feel like many don't feel like, because of where they sit there, there's an ability to negotiate. And I feel like the lack of understanding of negotiating is where you really honor your worth. And really understand, like, if this is what I want, or this is what I feel like I deserve, I need to have all the facts to break this stuff down. Because I tell people all the time, when I'm doing something, this is what you're paying for. This is what you're paying for. I'll break it down if you need it on paper. If you need ink in a white background, I'll break it down to you to understand. I'm not stealing no money from you. I'm not trying to get nothing that I don't deserve. Now, I may give you a slight discount, but I do want you to understand, I'm doing 4 people's jobs. So I do deserve 4 people's compensations.
And it's the art of negotiation. Right? And you do those, and you do that so many times, and you just, kind of get comfortable in this space. And it's like, okay, I know that I'm bringing something valuable to the table.
Absolutely.
You can either play ball or not, and it don't make me no difference. That's the other thing. One of the biggest arts of negotiation is being able to walk away from the deal. Right? It's like if you don't have faith enough that you're going to be able to survive without this one deal, then
what are you here for?
You don't have enough negotiating power to even go into it. And so a lot of it, at least I found, that I got to be willing to throw my cards on the table and be like, here's what it's gonna take, here's what it's gonna do. If you can't play ball, let's talk again on the next time. You know what I mean? Like, I can't do it this time because of this, but let's stay in contact. Maybe we can do something else in the future. It ain't nothing personal.
Absolutely. And I feel like sometimes people feel like even doing certain things like that is going to jeopardize a relationship or make somebody feel some type of way. I know even for me, like when we were working with the past artists before we even came in contact, before reaching out to Unc, we didn't reach out to him for a certain amount of time because our respect level for him and what he brought to the table, we was like, you know what, we don't want him to feel disrespected by what we unfortunately have the capability of offer. But what was so crazy is once we even were able to offer him whatever we did, he still loved us and discounted us. And he did that because of the respect we had to wait, versus being like, you know what, cool, we're gonna try to get you in here for this little pinch of penny and all that type of stuff. And it's like where you start at. And I do appreciate learning that lesson from him, like respecting us for not rushing that thing, and then loving us enough to say, you know what, because you guys value me, I can bless y'all in that way. And it's one of the greatest relationships I feel like I've ever had the joy of gaining, because his meekness is amazing. And the one thing that's crazy is, as a leader, I didn't understand, but I began to see it. Everybody that works with him, you and Andres, Willie, all of you guys carry a like almost a remnant of his meekness. Your that softness. Because even though me and you didn't even talk that much, you never had the attitude of leave me the fuck alone. You were just more so like, it was a very like, I'm here, I'm going to be in this moment. Even boundaries, boundaries. But it was like, but I'm gonna do my job. I'm going to do my job. Because I remember, even if I needed to talk to you or fix anything, me and you, even though we still were not relative to one another, I felt like our conversations and understanding, like I still respected you when I talked to you. And it wasn't that I even respected you on no type of, like I wanted to disrespect you. I respected you based upon the fact of he's doing his job no matter what, because regardless of anything, it's something that I may not understand. And with that, like, what do you feel is something that is under considered? That's not even a word, but like that should be considered or unrecognized about your line of work that you wish, or if you could make more noticeable for people to be like, yo, like this is something that you need to take into consideration when you ask this or add this element to your journey, your story, your show, whatever it may be.
Are you asking from the perspective of like what people interacting with a playback person should consider?
Yep.
That it's this role is still being worked out. There are very few really brilliant people in this role, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's not a lot of framework for every situation, right? So I'll put it this way. Everybody is the last 4 or 5 years, everybody knows about the Play Audio 12.
Yep.
Shout out to iConnectivity, shout out to Al. But before that product, there was not a product that existed specifically for playback.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, in the past, 4 or 5 years, it was the first product that was created specifically.
Right.
Well, I don't know if it's the first, but it's the first one that tackled
we know
the
of.
Type of product.
Right.
Because I know the S.01 also was about redundancy, but so it's a budding industry overall. And so all of the hardware, everybody's still figuring out how to interface all of these things. Everybody's still trying to keep up with the emerging technology, the emerging software, and all of this stuff. And so a lot of times, like, there are a lot of people in this seat that are just figuring it out on the fly.
On the spot, yep.
So, give them a minute. They working it out. A lot of times we're trying to put stuff together that that isn't supposed to operate like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like in my current role, I'm doing stuff I'm doing auto-tune right now. It's like solely auto-tune for an artist. I don't want to say it because I don't want it to be a thing.
No, for sure.
But the way that I'm doing auto-tune hasn't been done before. And when I talk to people about it, they be like, wait, what? Wait, what are you doing?
Right.
Like even the people that are working with me, they're like, so what? How's this going now? And we're figuring it out together, like in real time. Well, okay, so this is what happened, and show by show we like making adjustments. Well, okay, well, can we do this and can we do this? And like, it's one of these roles that like we're just constantly like figuring it out and evolving. Because like I might talk to my guy even at Terry's, and I'm like, hey man, here's what I'm trying to do, and he's like, wait, what are you doing? And I'm like, you built this, like, or can we, you know what I mean? Or I'm talking to a guy at a different hardware manufacturer, and I'm like, well, here's what I'm trying to do. Can it do this?
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, I wasn't made to do that, but maybe we could use this over here to do. And so a lot of us are really just trying to solve these problems
and figure it out
products
together.
And with software that isn't made to do what we're trying to do. A lot of this stuff isn't made for what we're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Almost like Jimmy rigging to a certain degree.
Exactly.
But not.
And so we have to figure out ways to put these things together, the right software together, to put the right hardware together to be able to solve this problem in this space that's really obscure. You know what I mean? So you know, if some things don't work, you, like you said in the beginning, like charge it to the tech, like charge it to the technology, like, because we trying to make some stuff happen that's not supposed to work, like that wasn't created to work like this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll say that. Like, just have that in mind.
Indeed, because it's caused me in many cases to walk around with a lot more grace and understanding of knowing when a person just is not trying to fix a situation and when they're doing everything that they can. And all that takes is, you know, just patience and one of my favorite words, preparation. Yeah. Because what would even going tracking back to the beginning of our story, what may have made our interaction better with one another when we first met each other was better preparation. Was the fact that we had asked for a week prior and we didn't get, we only got 1 week. And had we had got a week prior, I feel like we would have did way better together because we wouldn't have been under so much stress and also trying to rush the process of trying to get all these elements to work together, because it was not easy. It was a really big, I mean, trust me, there's bigger projects out there, but that was the biggest project I had worked on in a while compared to like some other stuff. But it's really the grace. And like I said, preparation has been big on me this year because
that was interesting. Sorry to cut you off. That was
no. It was very interesting, and because I look at preparation as the cutting of the vegetables and the protein and making sure all that type of stuff is ready. Because if you throw all that stuff on a grill, no matter the fact that you know what you want at the end, if you don't prepare it right, you literally either backtrack and have to cut up things you already cooked accidentally, or this, that, and the third. Like it's not going to turn out right. It's going to be literally dragging itself all the way to the finish line. And thankfully, God's grace is better than our grace, because his grace can still make it comfortable to even get to the finish line. Because there's moments where I was like, I don't even know how we gonna make it through this journey and get on this next journey. Yeah, because it was so much going on. And even with me, like, I was out there playing drums, but I was just talking to somebody yesterday, and I was like, I was solving so many other problems that had nothing to do with drums, nothing to do with musical directing. I was solving, like, I would say one of my honoring traits that I appreciate about myself is my ability to problem solve. And with that, what is one of yours? Like, what is a trait that you honor about yourself that you appreciate? Like, God, I thank you for giving me this one, because this one has brought me through a lot of circumstances and situations.
That my curious mind. You know, if I wasn't curious, I would have none of the experiences that I have, right? So I don't have a desire to be an expert in one area. My brain don't work like that.
Yep.
Right? Like there are a lot of people who are just like, I just want to do this one thing. I want to be the best at it. I want to go to the top. I don't have that. I do stuff enough to have an experience that I want to have, and then I'm done. Like I was like, yeah, man, I want to learn this engineer thing, and I want to be in the studios with people. And so I did. And then I worked in the studios as an engineer, and I did all this stuff. And then I was like, all right.
All right.
Okay. I did it. I made some money, made some good money, and I did it. Okay, yeah. Now I want to go on tour, as a drummer. Okay, I did it. I played every freaking TV show possible.
Wow.
Like a few times over. Like been to a lot of different countries.
Amen.
And it was like, all right. Oh man, I wanna do this playback thing. I did it.
I did it.
I did it. I want to start this tech product, and so that's one of my next things. Is like starting a tech company, and I've got these other ideas that I'm doing. But like, there's something to be said about being the expert in the field, and having that kind of leverage and that kind of clout. I just don't possess that.
Right.
I possess a certain curiosity that allows me to dip my toe in all of these things. And the other thing that I have is the ability to connect all of these things.
Right.
So because I have experience in all of these different areas, I can see the blind spots, and I can see how they connect, and I can see how people can come together and do this. Like one of the things that I do now is like straight up consulting. Like one of my homegirls is a DJ in New York, and when I say she's got the most extensive musical catalog knowledge that I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
Like she knows the background of anything like soul, R&B, hip hop, and a lot of like rock stuff. Like I don't care what it is. She knows the stories of it. She's read up on it. She knows that producer and what else they produce. Like she know all this stuff. And she's been trying to figure out how to capitalize on on that knowledge. And so, she hired me as a consultant to be like, well, what do I do with this knowledge? And so because I've dipped my toe in like music supervision and film, and I know some people over there and film and TV production and all kind of stuff, whatever. And so I'm like, oh, well, you can be an advisor to music supervisors and directors over here as they're building out these film, these stories. They might say, hey, I want to use single ladies in this scene right here. We can't afford single ladies. Let me call her and figure out what
better
song
option.
Like
yeah,
we can do blah blah blah. Now that's a music supervisor's job, but everybody needs support and all kind of stuff in all these roles.
Right.
She can also be a support for A&Rs at record labels. You know what I mean? If they're trying to coach these artists down a certain path, she can be a viable resource for these people, or she could go directly to indie artists if they're trying to beef up or change up the sound. Then they can be like, hey, I want to sound like this. Pay her a consulting fee, and she provide options and direction down this path to this thing. And so because I know all these different avenues, I'm able to bring things together. Like I'm talking with you about different things, and we talking about podcasting because I have knowledge in so many different areas. I'm not experts in none of these areas.
Right.
I'm not experts in them, but I have knowledge in them, and I can see the threads and the links and stuff. And so I think my curious mind is the benefit is what's God given, and I'm able to use that to like explore this work, and it fulfills me. Like I don't have to be stuck in one thing. You know what I mean?
No, for sure. I mean, I'm thankful for your curiosity, because your curiosity for just your love and joy for curiosity for yourself, I feel, is what gives provision for other people to see things that they might not be connected to curiosity in that way, to be like, I never thought about that. Like the podcast situation, did I think about it? No, I feel like you conjured the whole idea up, and I was just like, you know what? It's not a bad idea. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I do want people to get better educated. I do want people to get understanding. I also want another part of this podcast that I enjoy is this is going to be, in this moment in time of somebody's life, their biography, their audio biography of where they were at this time, because the level in which you're on right now is not the level you'll be next year, or even probably by tomorrow, or whatever it is. But at least you'll be able to even look back at this and be like, wow, like that's where I was, that's where my thinking was, that's what I enjoyed, that's what I appreciated. And because even when it's almost like listening back to ourselves as musicians and be like, wow, that's the way that I thought, that's the way that I played that, and thought that was like you almost be like, what was going through my head? And it's like, nigga, it's your head. But our brains are consistently growing, developing, changing in our lives, circumstances, and things that we embrace and see that we like. I want to say a portion of it is absorbing for learning factors. A portion of it is absorbing for unintentional comparisons. Yeah, because I don't purposely try to compare myself, but I may see something and be like, man, either I wonder how I would look in that, or man, I wish I could have that. And it's not intentional. It's not like I'm looking at everything like that. It just happens. But also in the midst of that comparison, is like, what do I think if I see these clothes, like, yeah, oh, I would look dope in them clothes? Or do I think like, I have a great creative idea, and I guarantee for the same amount that I would pay for that, I could make my own and have my own spin on it. So it gives your mind that vibration. Or even if it's like, even when it comes to drum sets and endorsement companies and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, right now I'm playing this person's cymbals, I'm playing this person's stuff. When will I play my own stuff? Like, when can I use
we gonna build?
These benefactors? How do we build? Like, when do we get these? Like, like, big ups to Eric Moore, who started his own drumstick company. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think everybody really gives that adjustment its flowers, because yes, throughout time we've had people have gospel cymbal companies and drum sets, but where are they now? And it's nothing against even understanding where they are.
It's a tough business to get into.
It is.
Shout out to Mac Drums. If y'all have never experienced Mac Drums out of Miami, Jesus, his stuff is amazing.
I gotta hear about him. I gotta see him.
Oh, Mac is,
but it's
crazy.
It's dope to see. It's dope to see that. It's dope to see like he took that I'm playing this cymbals, sticks, I'm playing this and all that type of stuff, and then and he said, it's almost like why can't I make the same thing when I have the same ability to get wood just like everybody else.
But that's what I'm saying about this endorsement game, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, what's the value here? If I am the value, then how do I make that transferable to something that's tangible? Right?
Yep. And like legacy driven. Yeah.
Eric has had his audience for so long. Yep. Right? And those of us that don't have an audience like that, we don't necessarily have an opportunity to create like lasting legacy in the way that he does. But for him, he's got an audience, and so now he's able to create something that will provide for his family for the rest of his life, right?
Rest of his life.
So that's the point here. That's the point in all of this. Man, I was looking at it. I'll put it this way. You know what turned me off about playing drums?
What?
For me specifically,
Mm-hmm.
was, to me, in my journey, I want to stress that this ain't got nothing to do with nobody else.
This is your level, for sure.
In my journey, there was a low ceiling. Right? I saw people making millions of dollars in real estate. I saw people making millions of dollars in tech. I saw people making millions of dollars in a bunch of industries. Not this one. Right? The top earning people were unicorns. The top earning people was like Questlove, was like Travis Barker, all these unicorns.
Yep.
But we not talking about, we're not even talking about even your Steve Gads. Like, we're not talking about you people that are recording on literally everything.
Yep, Dennis.
We're not talking about Dennis. We're not talking about I'm forgetting people's names. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But for me, I knew that, like I'm saying, I got this curious mind. I'm not finna play drums forever. Like, I know that about me. Like, I don't care enough for that.
Right.
And so I'm not gonna be in a position, at least that was my thinking 10, 12 years ago. That was my thinking. That, like, I'm not finna be in a position to do it. Now, the internet wasn't what it was. I couldn't see into the future of the internet and building your own platform and all that kind of stuff, and what that means and what that looks like. But back then, that turned me off, and it started me down these other paths to learning business over here, learning tech over here, learning all this stuff, because I'm like, I want to retire one day. I'm looking at all these musicians that literally died broke. They're the greatest musicians ever. We talking about James Jamerson that played bass on the world's greatest records, and nigga died broke. You know what I mean? We talking about so many elders of my own personal who died broke.
Yep.
And I'm not meant for that life. I'm too bougie. I know I am.
Bougie.
I know I am. Like, I know that I like a certain type of hotel. Like, I bought a Corvette. Like, I had this Corvette for years. Before it was cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know that I want to live a certain life. I know that about me, right? And so I'm not finna be out here doing something, for ego just cause. Like, nah, nigga, where this bread at? You know what I mean? Because I know that one day I'm gonna want to retire, and I'm not finna be out here playing gigs in my shout out to everybody that does it. I'm sorry if it's coming off elitist or whatever. I'm sorry. But I know personally, I don't want to play gigs in my 70s. If I'm playing, it's because I want to play, not because I need to pay these bills.
Respect to those who do, because I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to be. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm being realistic about. I'm just trying. I'm trying not to. Like, you know what I mean?
No.
I'm being realistically about my own journey.
Well, it's a little different because it'd be different if it was like, it's a situation like with the Rolling Stones and like the Beatles and like like those, they're the bands where it's like, playing your gig at 70 makes sense, but I don't want to be a backup in black musician at 70. Hell no. No. You gotta, no, that is. And you know me, I say this all the time. It's a roof to this. I say this to all people. Like, this being a musician stuff, I love it. Don't get me wrong, but it's a roof to it. And I'm not good. I'm claustrophobic. I got claustrophobia. So once I feel myself getting to a roof, I got to do something different. I got to find something better, and I got to keep leveling up.
And so this is why I'm saying for you to build this audience, right?
Right.
Because anytime you build an audience and you have people that value what you say, value what you provide to them, they're willing to, and you get them conditioned to be able to pay for that value, right?
Yep.
Now you are building something that can be a lasting legacy, right?
Correct.
It's so much deeper than the talent and the skill level, right? But I want to say that to everybody listening, to everybody watching, if you're an instrumentalist, if you're a drummer, if you're playing keys, you're an engineer, you're doing all this stuff, like build your audience, build your crowd. Let me also say this. Get your ass out the States.
Passport.
Like there are, but I mean even your musicianship, right?
No. Yep.
Like, why are you only playing with artists in the States? There was this, we was touring Germany, and there was this German band, I can't remember their name to save their life, but this was this legacy band that had been around for like 20 years. Mm-hmm. And they only played like in Germany and some of the surrounding areas. And it was like a 16-piece band, and they pulled out like 10,000 people to this show, and they was just real time. And a few of the band members are from like New York.
Wow.
And they play in this band.
Yep. Crazy.
And they they got a place in Germany, they got their place in New York, and they're like, yeah, I've known some people that play with artists in Korea. They play with artists in Nigeria. They play, and I'm like, bro, especially if you from the church.
From the church.
Nobody can play like you around this world.
Absolutely. Nope.
Nobody has what you have. It's valuable.
Honest. Yes.
So take your ass and talk to these people. Mm-hmm. Use this internet and meet these people and go and play. Stop fighting for these little gigs.
Fighting for real. Like, that's a whole nother conversation. I mean, fighting. I mean, like, literally talking bad about people, undercutting people. All
of that. And I'm like, man,
why?
There's so much. I'm saying, especially for those of us from the church, there's so much room for us. We just have to go outside of this small market.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
We have to get outside of R&B. We have to get outside of gospel.
Yep.
How long, man? PJ Morton been a part of Maroon 5 for 10 years.
Yep.
10 plus
some
years.
People don't even know that. Some people don't even know that.
10 plus years. I'm like, bro, that man took everything that he knows from his time as a young musician in New Orleans and in the church, and that's valuable for one of the biggest pop bands in the world.
That's going to be touring for years. Now that's a band you be playing drums for at 70.
People might not know Buddy Strong. Buddy Strong's a keyboard player, right?
Oh,
Buddy
yeah,
Strong,
from Russia.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And so Buddy Strong is with Dave Matthews Band now.
Really?
They've been with him for years.
That's crazy.
Chris Coleman is with Beck.
I seen that. And
you know what I mean? And
he'll be out there for a while.
And what's my guy? Bass player out of Philly. He also playing with Beck. So I'm saying, y'all stop fighting for these
crumbs.
Gigs.
For the
because
crumbs.
Everybody wants what we have.
Yep. Everybody wants it.
Every artist, every team, because nobody plays like we play.
Absolutely.
And so, like I'm saying from the beginning, get your business together, talk to these elders, pay these guys for their mentorship and for their advice.
Yep.
Right? Because, and I'll say this, I learned this recently. Mentorship is different than paying for advice. Mentorship is somebody that's there and they see something in you and they're like, hey, I want to pour into you.
They're invested in your investment.
That's mentorship. They're investing in you and they're like, hey, let me pour into you.
Yep.
And paying for advice is you saying, hey, you have this experience. Let me pay you for this time and for this knowledge.
Right. Yep.
They both are valuable.
Mm-hmm.
But If that person ain't investing in you, then you say, hey, you might not be investing in me yet. I still want your time. Let me pay you for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm saying, guys, get this shit together. Get your business together. Get your learning up. Learn this game. Read these books. And talk to these people. Get this advice. And go out in this world and make it happen. That's another thing. Like, my brother is my brother. A lot of people don't know my brother is Trent Phillips.
The great Trent Phillips.
And everybody knows him, right?
Wait, hold on. Before you tell that story, I don't even think I knew that Trent Phillips was your brother until you like told me. I didn't put two and two together for a while.
Yeah. Because I had to get out here and make my way.
Wait. I think I found out that you and Trent were brothers when I brought up the TC, RIP TC, Thomas Clay, one of the greatest ever. But I remember, I think that's when you were like, oh yeah, that was my brother's birthday. And I was like, wait, your brother, Trent Phil? Oh my God. But continue about your brother.
But it's that, like, I'm a drummer and I don't have access to the stuff that he does. I don't play like that. Mm-hmm. I could.
You could.
But I'm self-taught. And so that's not my natural way of playing. I didn't have a drum teacher. I didn't have somebody to sit with me and all that. And so I went fusion and I learned all this other stuff. And so my approach is a little different than the classic kind of gospel or Calvin approach. Like, my approach is a little different, right?
Yep.
And so I don't have access to the work that my brother has and does. Them niggas ain't calling me. And so I had to get out here and figure it out. I had to get out here and go and find an artist that was gonna mess with me, that was gonna pay me, and go and do all this stuff. And you know, like, that's what this is sometimes. Everything ain't handed to you all the time. And I'm grateful I'm grateful that my path is my path. You know, like, I don't have like, I'm just now getting like mentorship. Like, but I have big homies that gave me game, like Teddy gave me a lot of game. Aaron gave me a lot of game. Cora Coleman gave me a lot of game. Chris Coleman gave me a lot of game. You know, I'm forgetting Omar gave me a lot of game. Like, I'm forgetting a lot of people. Adam, shout out to Adam. But right now, the only person that I could actually say is a legit mentor is William Burke, because he's pouring into me. Right? But everybody else, they gave me game. But outside of that, if I had a straight up teacher, if somebody was teaching me everything, I wouldn't be able to move around the way I do. Like, because I had to learn myself, now I know how to learn. So if I get stuck, I don't have to call somebody and be like, how do I do this? I'm like, okay, well, I got to figure out how to do this. Like, I got stuck in Miami because nobody was calling me. Nobody knew I played drums, right? In Miami. And so I was in Miami. In Miami.
To get out.
Like, the people who knew, they knew I was
in
good,
that area. But
nobody who had the ability to call me for work or pay me was calling me, right?
Absolutely.
Because I'm my brother's brother, but I don't play keys, and so they just whatever, right? And so I had to literally remove myself from that situation and go to a different market where I could make a name for myself to be able to play.
Absolutely.
Everybody not willing to do that. You know what I mean? Everybody don't see the value in that.
Yep, scared of the risk. Yep, absolutely.
And so my journey is my journey. And so so from engineering to production to drumming to I didn't have people throwing work at me. I just didn't have it. And so all this, I had to go get it every time. And so that's why I'm saying, I'm like, look, y'all, I'm out here. I've been out here. I know what this junk is. I've traveled the world. I'm connected to all these different industries and different markets. What you do as someone in the church is valuable around the world.
Yes, it is. It's necessary. It's needed.
Trust yourself. Trust God. Get out here and make this stuff happen.
Make it happen. Make it happen. I mean, I wouldn't be having this conversation with you if I stayed in San Francisco and didn't say, you know what, nobody's coming here to get me. I gotta go where the getting is getting, and that was LA, because I remember what really pushed me to LA was the Diddy's making his band auditions that happened at Center Staging, and I remember being there from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for a 15-second audition in front of Nissan and Rob Lewis and Omar, I want to say. But in my mind, what's crazy is while I was in that line, I seen the Eric Moore, the Stanley Randolph walking in, the Cassandra O'Neills. Like, these are people who I did not know whatsoever personally. But what's funny is, because of me taking the risk, I can call Stanley Randolph. I can call Eric Moore right now. I've played in church with Cassandra O'Neill as my musical director, the one of the greatest female keyboardists who rocked with Prince for years. But had I stayed where I was and not taking the risk and go and went to where the getting is good, I'd literally be doing myself a disservice. And that's what I really want people to understand in levels to this. In order to get to that level, the first key to it is taking a risk, because in that risk, you may not know the outcome, but more than not, you'll regret more not taking the risk than you will getting out there and possibly scraping your knee in life, but not losing your leg.
Yep.
Because you can lose your leg staying at home.
Of course.
You can lose. I mean, shoot, a lot of people losing their legs staying at home. That's why they still at home, because they done nubbed their whole entire inspiration of life to where they don't want a wheelchair around in risk now. And so, man, like, I know you got things to do. I greatly appreciate this. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm going to have you on again, because there's so much we could break down, and I want people to understand in regards to having people like you. And to everybody, I want to appreciate this man so much, because if it wasn't for him pushing me, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you right now. Gain a person that's willing to see things that you don't see in your life, and then not necessarily saying, you know what, I don't know about that. Sometimes the reason why everything you see in the mirror is so negative is because you're seeing it. It's sometimes better to let people see you for who you are. They look beyond the flaws and they see the better things in you. They see things in you based upon conversation and just personality traits. Like, yo, I don't know if you've ever thought about it. Like, you I don't know what you see in the mirror, but you'd be great at modeling, or you'd be great at, just speaking to people, or giving people inspirational talks, so forth and so on. I mean, shoot, a lot of people are still hairdressers at home, amazing hairdressers. Don't believe in it, and some don't have people really telling them, like, yo, you need your own shop, or you need to go do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, get people around you that are gonna challenge you, and they're not challenging you on something that they don't feel like you can do. They're really challenging you at something that they know you can do. And I appreciate you knowing that I could do this, and I thank you for your time. I love you dearly, man. And man, we'll stay together on this. And thank you guys for tuning in to Levels to This podcast with my man Mike Phillips, my first guest on season 1, episode 1. So check him out on Instagram, on Twitter. Who is Mike P? You know, that man, he got the gems. And I think he's nice enough to respond to some people if you got any questions or anything like that, playback questions, engineering questions, MD questions. Because you've been an open book to me, and that's another thing. I appreciate you being an open book, man, for real.
Yes, sir. You already know what it is.
Indeed, man. Well, I love you, dog, and I'll holler at you, man. Peace. And with that being said, I appreciate y'all just sticking with us. I hope that all this information that y'all got today like helped y'all in some way, shape, or form, because it's the journey that really like helps us begin to understand the elements and the situations that we're going through in our life, and knowing like how to really look at them and say, you know what, I could do better with this, or maybe I should try this, or maybe I should expand myself on this. I ain't got to be a one-trick pony. I don't have to. Curiosity may have killed the cat, but the cat had 9 lives. So why not continue to try certain things? Why not to push yourself and see like, you know what? Yeah, I may not have done this before. It doesn't mean that I'm incapable of doing it, because that from there you get to a certain level and then you level up from there. So I just say all that to say I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And if nobody in the world told you that they love you today, I love you. And I can't wait to see you back here with Levels to This podcast. Y'all be good.